Today we shall study about communication system in modern physics. Communication is the act of transmission of information. Modern communication has its root in the 19th and 20th century in the work of scientists like J.C. Bose, F.B. Morse, G. Marconi and Alexander Graham Bell. The pace of development seems to have increased dramatically after the first half of the 20th century. The aim of this article is to introduce the concept of communication, namely the mode of communication, the need for modulation, production and reduction of amplitude modulation. Elements of communication system. Communication pervades all stages of life of all living creatures. Irrespective of its nature, every communication system has three essential elements: transmitter, medium or channel, and third, receiver. The block diagram shown in figure 1 depicts the general form of a communication system as shown in figure 1. In a communication system, the transmitter is located at one place, the receiver is located at some other place. Separate from the transmitter and the channel is the physical medium that connects them. Depending upon the type of communication system, a channel may be in the form of wires or cables connecting the transmitter and the receiver, or it may be wireless. The purpose of the transmitter is to convert the message signal produced by the source of information into a form suitable for transmission through channel. If the output of the information source is a non-electrical signal like a voice signal, a transducer converts it to electrical form before giving it as an input to the transmitter. When transmitted signal propagates along the channel, it may get distorted due to the channel imperfecting. Moreover, noise adds to the transmitted signal and the receiver receives a completed version of the transmitted signal. The receiver has the task of operating on the received signal. It recontributes a recognizable form of the original message signal for delivering it to the use of information. Now there are two basic modes of communication, point-to-point and broadcast. In point-to-point communication mode, communication takes place over a link between a single transmitter and a receiver. Telephony is an example of such a mode of communication. In contrast, in the broadcast, there are a large number of receivers corresponding to a single transmitter. Radio and television are examples of broadcast mode of communication. Okay. Basic terminology used in electronic communication system. It would be easy to understand the principles underlying any communication if we get ourselves acquainted with the following basic terminology. First, transducer. Transducer, any device that converts one form of energy into another, can be termed as a transducer. In electronic communication system, we usually come across devices that have either their inputs or outputs in the electrical form. Any electrical transducer may be defined as a device that converts some physical variable, pressure, displacement, force, temperature, etc., into a corresponding variations in the electrical signal at its output. Signal. Information converted in electrical form and suitable for transmission is called a signal. Signal can be either analog or digital. Analog signals are continuous variations of voltage or current. They are essentially single valued function of time. Sine wave is a fundamental analog signal. All other analog signals can be fully understood in terms of their sine wave components. Sound and picture signals in TV are analog in nature. Digital signals are those which can take only discrete, a step-by values binary system that is extensively used in digital electronics. It implies just two levels of a signal. O, 0 corresponds to a low level and 1 corresponds to high level of voltage or current. There are several coding schemes useful for digital communication. They imply suitable combinations of number systems such as the binary coded decimal, BCD, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, ASCII. It is universal popular digital code to represent numbers, letters, and certain characters. Third, noise. Noise refers to the unwanted signals that tend to disturb the transmission and processing of messages. In a communication system, the source generating the noise may be located inside or outside the system. Transmitter. A transmitter processes the incoming message signal so as to make it suitable for transmission through a channel and a subsequent reception. Receiver. If a receiver extracts the desired message signal from the received signals as the channel out attenuation. The loss of strength of a signal while propagating through a medium is known as attenuation. Amplification. It is the process of increasing the amplitude and consequently the strength of a signal using an electric circuit called the amplifier. Amplification is necessary to compensate for attenuation of the signal in communication system. The energy needed for additional signal strength is obtained from DC power source. Amplification is done at a place between the source and the destination where your signal strength becomes weaker than the required strength range. It is the largest distance between a source and a destination up to which the signal is received with sufficient strength. Bandwidth refers to the frequency range over which an equipment operates of the portion of the spectrum occupied by the signal. Modulation. The original low frequency message or information signal cannot be transmitted to long distances. Therefore, as the transmitter information contained in the low frequency message signal is superimposed on a high frequency wave which acts as a carrier of the information, this process is known as modulation. There are several types of modulation as AM, FM, and PM. Demodulation. The process of retrieval of information from the carrier wave at the receiver is termed demodulation. This is the reverse process of modulation. Repeater. A repeater is a combination of a receiver and a transmitter. A repeater picks up the signal from the transmitter, amplifies and retransmits it to the receiver, sometimes with a change in carrier frequency. Repeaters are used to extend the range of a communication system. A communication satellite is essentially a repeater station in space.